Don't stress, live life one day at a time. Don't drink or drug and you'll be fine.
Welcome back to Staying Sober with Papa Joey. Today, this video is going to be about my thoughts on AA, and I've shared my thoughts before about AA, but lately, especially after the last video I did just yesterday, I already received a couple of emails from people wanting to know if I'm telling everybody to go to AA. And no, that's not what I'm doing per se, but I find myself more and more, because of all these programs that I've been checking out or evaluating. Matter of fact, I was on a phone call about 3 hours ago from somebody who was promoting their program. I happened to have basically done the same thing. I put in my information, not truthful, of course, but they called me, told them I wanted to stop drinking, and all of a sudden today, they gave me a link to a Zoom meeting where I actually stayed for about 90 minutes. And the hard part was, and I'm going to do a video on this program that I'm talking about now. I won't release the name yet. Well, here's what happened. I'm on the Zoom call, and then out of the blue, he calls on me. He says, "So what are your thoughts?" Because for the last hour and 20 minutes, it was kind of like, this is what we do, but also a call to action. He kept on saying, you can click the link below and schedule a call with one of our counselors. We'd be more than happy to get you started right away, see if it's a perfect fit, yada, yada. I was keeping quiet, and then all of a sudden, I get called on. I thought I was in school again. I was just sitting there being quiet, and the teacher said, "Well, Joseph, what's your thoughts?" So quickly, I had to decide if I was going to BS the person and just say, "Yeah, I'm here, I need some help," or was I going to come clean? So I actually came clean. I said, "Listen, I just want to be honest with you." And he's like, "Well, that's what I'm looking for. We want people to be honest." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I've got close to 33 years of sobriety." And his eyes kind of looked at me, and everybody that was on Zoom, I could tell they moved a little closer, like, whoa, what's going on with this guy? And I just told him, I said, "You've been showing up in my Facebook feed, and I was a little curious what it is you're selling." And I signed up for a call, and I got this link, so I came here, and I said, to be honest with you, you're kind of pushing a slippery slope with me. And again, he could see he was getting a little tense. And he says, "Well, first of all, we don't use the word sober here. They use a different term, and I'll say what that is on the next video when I talk about that one program, but they don't like the word sober," which I looked at him, I said, "Really? Well, okay." It doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, a lot of these other programs, what they try to do is just reinvent everything. And that's what's bringing me back to AA. Now, as I stated, if you're the type of drinker that constantly is hitting it, and you're hitting it hard, and you're getting in all kinds of trouble with your family, maybe the law, work, you gotta quit, you gotta do something. Yeah, I think the best thing for a person to do is to go to an AA meeting. And I'm going to tell you something, they're not that bad, all right? It's just a group of people, man, that sit there and talk about, what it was like when they were drinking and trying to help somebody who just walked in looking for help. And here's the thing. I didn't realize it until later on. When I was going to AA, of course, they always talked about the importance of meeting and that you should keep going to meetings. And I understood that to a certain degree, but I wasn't going to base my whole life around, AA. I understood early on why I shouldn't drink alcohol any longer. I enjoyed AA meetings for the most part. I enjoyed some of the discussions. But then there were some things I didn't like about it. But guess what? That's life, right? Not everything is going to be just perfect the way you want something. But I have to be honest, that's how I originally got sober, or there were people there that would listen to me, or there were things that I was thinking about. And as I say time and time again, the day I walked into AA, somewhere deep inside, I knew I was done drinking. If I was walking into an AA meeting, then I knew I was done. I wasn't going to live my lifestyle that was usually just alcohol induced. But back then, we're talking 1992, there was no internet. The only thing I ever heard about, if somebody had a drinking problem and tried to get sober, they went to AA. So that's why I went. And I have no complaints. I mean, there was things I didn't like. Yeah, I didn't like calling myself an alcoholic, but I got over it only because I understood it was kind of like what they expected you to say when you were there. All right? Sometimes people would say, well, that's what you are. Now, I don't say I'm an alcoholic. I don't know. All right? I abused alcohol to the 10th multiple power, but I still don't want to call myself an alcoholic. I mean, everything's changed. Now I think they call it alcohol. Well, I know it's alcohol abuse. There's a different term they're using now. But for me, I was just a drunk, man. I went out and I drank, and I enjoyed drinking. I didn't really drink over anything. I drank for everything. But yeah, there were certain things that I learned about myself later on, why I consumed so much alcohol, and there were certain things that I had to reevaluate as I got older. But the one thing I was always clear on, and I'd say this on my channels, I didn't drink no matter what, right? My favorite saying is what? My favorite saying is what? Don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. Again, I wasn't a drug abuser, but I know there's people that are listening to my channel, and the only way to stop that shit is you got to stop the shit. And for me, I wasn't a smart person in school. But I understood if I didn't put alcohol in me, I wasn't getting drunk. And that was half the battle, right? If you don't put alcohol in, you ain't going to get drunk. So I looked at AA as a place where I could just go hang out for a little while instead of going to a bar. Again, I met some really nice people. And yes, after listening to a lot of these so-called programs out there where they're asking some serious coin, right? No, I would not tell anybody to go to any of those. Now, I know their marketing is pretty slick, and they're looking for people with money because they'll state that they're looking for somebody that's a professional, businessmen, entrepreneurs. The keywords, they're looking for people with money. And I said that to the gentleman today when I was on that Zoom call, because there was somebody in that meeting that actually was talking prior to me about a half hour before, an older gentleman. He was basically in tears because he's hurting, because of his drinking. And I'm thinking, what are these guys going to do? They're going to probably put him aside and say, listen, we feel you, but, here's what, if you're really serious about getting sober, you got a credit card? We can help you. And when I talked to the lead guy there today, I just said, man, somebody's got to help that dude. He's hurting. I'm not used to seeing somebody just hurt like that and everybody just like pushes them aside. When I was in AA, if somebody walked in and they were hurting, boy, somebody took them to the side and sat down with them. If it was a guy, some guy would, of course, do it. And if it was a woman would. And after I left AA, when I was in the nightclub business, I can't tell you how many times I had people that worked for me said, "Hey, Joey, can I talk to you?" Like, "What's up?" And they started to share about their drinking or their drugging. And I knew about it because I worked with them, but I didn't push anything on them. But they always knew they could come to me and talk to me, and I would be upfront with them, and I wouldn't tell anybody that worked with me, and I would never tell the owners if one of the employees came up to me and said they needed some help with their drinking and drugging. Now, all I could do is lead them in the right direction. All right, I don't have the answers for everybody. It's an internal thing, and I've shared this before. My own daughter, I lost to a drug overdose. I watched her for 10 years just keep going right back at it. And, it took her life. So this stuff is serious. And I understand people wanting to make money over it. I get it. But there's also that serious factor. And when I heard that guy today hurting the way he was, it brought me back to my last drunk and how defeated I felt, how crushed. I embarrassed myself again in front of my friends. I said this, I did that. What's going on? I mean, wow, I wanted it to end. That's it. I wanted my drinking to be over. And I walked into AA, and then I'm not here again to promote AA. It does sound like it, though. I even think I sound like I'm now the AA cheerleader. But it's a great place to start. And all of these other so-called programs are somewhat similar to AA, but they put a new twist on it, make it seem maybe a little more cool. Like, I should say the program that I was just looking at, they kind of make it hip to, you're really cool, man, if you don't drink, man. You don't have to drink to have fun. You don't need alcohol to have fun. Sound like my mom years ago would say, "Joey, come on, you don't need to drink to have fun." I'm like, "Mom, my kind of fun, yeah, you want to drink." So, well, my mom was pretty wise, and she was correct. But I learned the hard way. And some of these programs aren't really designed for people who really abuse alcohol or drugs. They're designed for the ones that, the teetotalers, and maybe have one or two drinks every day. And then they get a little screwed up on the weekends once in a while. And maybe it, causes a little trouble in their life. And, they want to stop. You get those people too in AA. Not everybody is a fall down drunk, but you'd be surprised. There's some rough stories that you hear from people that attend AA. But now I think what I'm going to really start doing now is just, get people interested, if they really want to get sober, to walk into an AA room and just keep an open mind. Nobody's going to judge you there because everybody's like you if you walk into the rooms. That's one thing. When I was in AA, nobody's shocked at whatever you say because somebody somehow went through it or did it, and you just feel like, yeah, okay, I kind of belong with these people. It's like when you walk into a bar and everybody's drinking and having a good time and you were a drinker, you kind of felt right in. Well, these are the same people, but they're just not drinking anymore. And, you hear all this nonsense about the steps. All the steps is a way to make you look within yourself. And then they go, well, you got the higher power thing. Well, yeah, sometimes they talk about a higher power. Most people believe in God or believe in a higher power. Or some people now use the term, they're very spiritual. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in God, and Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I don't push that, but that's what I believe. And I've said before, I pull strength from God, but He's not keeping me sober, because He also gives me my free will, which allows me to go to a bar tonight and sit down and order a drink and do whatever the hell I want. He's not going to stop me. What stops me now is what I remembered happened to me in my past. I don't dwell on it. And I understand that if I pick up a drink, my past could definitely be my future in a hurry. So today, I just choose not to drink. I don't make a big deal of it. It's that simple. And when it came time for me after 4 or 5 years going to AA, because I enjoyed it, not because I had to, not because I was afraid I was going to pick up a drink again if I didn't go to a meeting. And yes, you hear that in the room sometimes. There are some fanatics in there. I agree with people. But wherever you are, there's fanatics. Right? But if you go to, like I said, a treatment center someplace, they're going to tell you, get some type of support group. Once you get out, you may need it 30, 60 days, and you may have to get some help. I don't know. Well, I know with these programs that I've been looking into, they have other ways for you to participate with them, but of course, it's all money. And to me, it's a lazy-ass way. If you're going to sit on your computer to listen to people talk about their drinking stories, or watch videos that they produce about certain things to manipulate your mind, or for you to stop your drinking, well, you're not making any effort. That's no effort, in my opinion. Humble yourself, walk into an AA meeting, or go to your church and ask for help there, that you abuse alcohol or drugs, you need to talk with somebody. There will be somebody there. And then just follow their suggestions. Will it be a little difficult? It might be. I don't know you. For me, I enjoy being around people. Before I got sober, I was always reading self-help books or listening to cassette tapes back then. But I never wanted to quit drinking. Now, there were times where I thought about my drinking when I was listening to these self-improvement tapes, but heck, I just didn't want to quit. I just did not want to stop drinking. No matter all the shit I went through, I just didn't want to stop drinking until I decided I was done. And I never went back. And you can do it. It's going to be as easier or as hard as you make it. You don't have to part with a lot of money to get yourself sober. Now, if you're really having issues, you may have to see somebody in the medical community. If you got some really bad health issues because of your drinking or drugging, yes, go see your doctor. Open up, tell them what's going on in your life, all right? But if it's, you're just sitting home pounding them away, or you're going to a bar, you're going out with your friends, or I met a lot of women that would tell me that they used to just stay home and drink alone or with their husband. But if you need help, my first suggestion is to walk into an AA room and just listen. You don't have to stay if you don't like it, but it's a start. Keep coming back to this channel. I'm going to start doing more and more in-depth research, I guess, on some of these programs out there. I just have to be honest. I just think if you create your own program and you're marketing and selling it for thousands of dollars, well, brother, you better know your shit. Okay, you really better know your shit. And just don't prey on people because they have a few bucks and they're hurting at the moment. I just don't think it's right. Because I said this in my last video, and I think I've said it before. I met doctors, lawyers, accountants, people who built multiple commercial buildings, real estate developers, investors, financial people. I mean, people with some really big money. And you know what? They walked into an AA room and they sat their ass down on a chair and they just said, you know, I need some help. I need to listen, I think. And that's great. This idea that you're going to go into a group online with somebody that owns a business and they consider themselves high achievers. Now, we're talking people, according to their own documentation, the high achievers to them is people that make over $250,000, but most of their people are $150,000 up. That's a good buck, don't get me wrong, but high achievers? But the high achievers aren't going to go to these people. A lot of the high achievers still go to AA meetings, man. And you could do research on it. And there's people that have been very successful with AA, celebrity types, and then there's people who got drunk again. You know, I did a whole video on Matthew Perry. The dude went to 6,000 AA meetings. I think it was 5 or 6 treatment centers. Spent $7 to $9 million on his, addiction. And then went to ketamine. And then died. It wasn't AA's fault. It wasn't the treatment center's fault. It was his fault. He just couldn't comprehend that he can't put a drink or a drug in him. Well, I don't want to get back into Matthew Perry. I feel bad for the guy. So much talent. But nobody could say, hey, it didn't work. You went to 6,000 freaking meetings. You had to learn somewhere, you had to hear somebody say this. Don't drink no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. That's my saying. Don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. Walk your ass into an AA meeting, sit down, shut up, just listen. Maybe you'll find a friend in there that you can confide in a little, and don't beat yourself up. Keep coming back to the channel. If you need some help, I told you. SoberPapaJoey@gmail.com. If you'd like to talk to me, I don't charge for it. You can, say you'd like to talk to me on the phone, maybe do a Zoom meeting with me. I'll set something up with you, and we'll have a discussion. That's it. No money. I'm not going to be one of these guys that I need to get charged for my time. If you need help, I'll do the best I can and direct you to where you need to go. If you just want to talk to somebody, sometimes that's all you need. So until the next time, remember, don't drink or use no matter what, and no matter what means no matter what. Check out my other videos. I'll see you next time.
Think about your serenity. Be grateful for your sobriety. Staying sober with Papa Joe.